All right, so welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive.
Yes.
And today, we are going to dive into the life of Pamela Bach.
Interesting.
Yeah, Pamela Bach,
Oh, yeah.
most famous probably for Baywatch and her marriage to David Hasselhoff.
Yes. And of course, The Young and the Restless.
Oh, yeah, The Young and the Restless, of course. It's interesting because I didn't know a ton about her story going into this, but you've sent me some really interesting articles.
Yeah.
And we were going to take a deep dive into all this stuff.
Absolutely.
Including her recent passing.
Right. Exactly. Sad situation.
Yeah. So to kind of set the stage here, Pamela Bach, like we said, most famous for Baywatch. She was married to David Hasselhoff. They seem to have this kind of Hollywood fairy tale thing going.
Mm-hmm.
But then it all kind of falls apart. We're going to get into all that. But first, I want to take it back, to the beginning.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about her early life and career and how she kind of ended up
Yeah.
in Hollywood.
Yeah. So, she was born in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1963. And she actually, she moved to LA to pursue acting. I mean, pretty common story there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But she landed a role on The Young and the Restless, which, like we said, is a big deal.
Yeah, huge soap opera.
Huge soap opera, yeah. And that was kind of like her, breakout role.
Okay.
But what's interesting is that soap operas back then, they were the place to be seen. A lot of actors got their start in soap operas. So
Right.
in a way, it's not surprising that she kind of went from there to meeting David Hasselhoff.
Right, so that's how they met, was on set. Yeah.
Yeah, so she actually best starred on Knight Rider.
Okay.
Which David Hasselhoff was, of course, the star of that.
Right, right.
And yeah, that's where they hit it off.
And then I guess the rest is history?
Yeah, kind of a whirlwind romance. They got married in December 1989.
Wow. Okay, so they met and they got married pretty quickly.
Pretty quickly, yeah. And, then they started a family. They have 2 daughters, Taylor and Haley. And of course, she ends up on Baywatch with him as well.
Oh, wow. So she was on Knight Rider and Baywatch with him?
It's right. Yeah.
So they're this ultimate, Hollywood power couple.
Yeah, they were really, the be-it couple at the time.
Oh, wow.
And you can imagine, being on a show like Baywatch, which is all about, beautiful people and
beach bodies and all that.
Exactly. So there's probably a lot of pressure. I mean, we don't know exactly what went on behind the scenes, but you can imagine.
You can imagine, yeah.
That it wasn't all, sunshine and rainbows.
Right. So then, fast forward a little bit, we get to 2006, and that's when things kind of really fall apart.
Mm-hmm.
They end up getting divorced.
Yeah, and it was a messy one.
Yeah, and in the articles you said, it seems like there were allegations of abuse and stuff.
Yeah, there were domestic abuse allegations that Pamela Bach made against David Hasselhoff.
Okay.
And, there was this whole incident with a video that came out.
Oh, my God. Yeah, that video.
Yeah, that was a tough one to watch.
Yeah, it was tough to watch. And I imagine it was tough to live through for everybody involved.
Oh, absolutely, especially their daughters.
Yeah. Can you remind me what exactly happened with that video?
Yeah, so one of their daughters, I believe it was Taylor,
Okay.
was filming David Hasselhoff, and he was clearly intoxicated, really drunk.
Yeah, and trying to eat a burger. I remember that.
Yeah, he was on the floor trying to eat this burger, and she's kind of pleading with him to stop drinking.
Oh, my God.
And it's just this really raw and heartbreaking moment.
And that got out publicly?
Yeah, it leaked online, and it became this huge scandal.
Oh, wow.
And I think it was really damaging for Hasselhoff's image.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and it also ended up impacting his visitation rights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the court, temporarily suspended his visitation because of that video.
Oh, wow.
Which is understandable. I mean,
Yeah.
They had to consider the safety of the children.
Right, of course.
He did eventually regain visitation rights.
All right.
But he did publicly acknowledge his struggles with alcohol at that time.
That's good. At least he was taking ownership of that.
Yeah, but, it's still a sad situation all around.
It is sad, because I can only imagine for the daughters, they're going through their parents getting divorced.
Yeah.
And then all this stuff is happening publicly.
Exactly. And, they're teenagers at this point.
Right.
So it must have been incredibly difficult for them to deal with all that scrutiny and public attention.
Right.
And, it makes you think about the whole Hollywood machine and the pressure that it puts on families.
Right.
And how sometimes things can look perfect from the outside, but behind closed doors, there's a lot of pain and struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, this was all happening before social media was as big as it is now.
Right.
So I can't even imagine, if this were happening today, it would be so much worse.
Oh, absolutely. It would be a complete media frenzy.
Yeah, so then we have to talk about the really sad news of Pamela Bach's recent passing.
Yeah, she passed away at the age of 62.
Yeah, and it was ruled a suicide.
That's right. The Los Angeles Medical Examiner confirmed that.
It's just so tragic, you know, and it makes you reflect on, like, the toll that all of this must have taken on her.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the pressures of fame, the divorce, the public scrutiny. It's just a lot for anyone to handle.
Yeah. And, it's a reminder that mental health is so important.
Absolutely.
And, we never really know what someone is going through behind closed doors.
Right, right.
And, it's just a reminder to be kind to everyone.
Absolutely.
Because you never know what battles they might be fighting.
I mean, and David Hasselhoff has since remarried.
Yeah, he married model Haley Roberts in 2018.
So he's kind of moved on with his life.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine, like, how much this has affected their daughters.
I'm sure it's had a profound impact on them, losing their mother and then going through this whole very public and very messy divorce.
It's just a lot, you know?
It is. And, it makes you think about the legacy that Pamela Bach leaves behind.
Yeah.
She was a talented actress, she was a mother, and she had a really big impact on a lot of people's lives.
And she had a lot of fans, you know?
Absolutely. And I think it's important to remember that and to celebrate her life and her achievements.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's a good reminder for all of us to, check in on our loved ones.
Mm-hmm.
And, just be there for each other, because you never know what someone might be going through.
That's so important.
Yeah. So on that note, I want to thank you all for joining us for this deep dive into the life of Pamela Bach.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been really interesting, and I think it's a story that's going to stay with me for a while.
Me too.
So until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.
See you then.
Bye.